Hola, bon dia. Carl Munson here from Expats Portugal with the Good Morning Portugal show. How are you this morning? Now, today is all about authenticity. So I should actually be very honest with you that I drank a whole bottle of Vinha Verde last night at the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club. And I'm really looking forward to a little bit of a spiritual cleanse this morning with my wonderful co-host. two Feel Good Fridays a month. It will be Jenni B from Holly Healthy. How are you this morning, Jenni B? She's muted. Oh,
hola, good morning. I'm so grateful you warned me, Carl, that you had this whole bottle, though.
Well, yes, I mean, there's a time and a place for everything. This wouldn't be the time and the place for that. This is the time. Oh, look at this. The internet has eyes. I don't see myself as a heavy drinker. It was just a beautiful. It was the spontaneity and the fun of the moment, and I really do. I must say, I'm a big fan of the Portuguese Vinha Verde. Very drinkable, very convivial. A little bit of sushi with it, in terms of a healthy, balanced diet. It was a great evening, absolutely, last night. But enough about me and my drinking habits. What is a drinking habit? Something you try and hide, I guess, in a habit. Bon dia. Carl, Jennifer, the Silver Coast. Very good, Jacqueline CDM this morning. Great to have your company. Stephen Wells already chipping in with a few comments, starting off with a nice, straightforward bon dia before moving into confirming last night's activities. From Circus School Paul, bon dia, Carl. So Portugal, yes, this is bad news from a UK perspective. Bon dia, Carl. So Portugal is on the amber list from next Tuesday. They only put it on the green list for the football last week. You could be forgiven for thinking so. Very disappointing for a lot of people that. Sorry to hear that news. Bon dia, lovely Carl. Thank you, lovely Deborah. Deborah Davies is here. I'm going to extend that to lovely Jenny as well. Yes, I think we know what you did last night. Not you, Jenny, me, that is. And hi to Jenny too, says Deborah. Yes, excellent. And a bon dia, beautiful people from Victoria Benson in Atlanta, Georgia. Greetings from San Rafael. Still windy, but sunny this morning. A couple more greetings, Jenny. I'll be right with you for today's Feel Good Friday topic. And to find out how you are. Bon dia alegria, whole bottle for me too. It was fun though. Which Facebook user is that? You big lush. Oh, stop it, Gary. Corey. Morning, lovely folks. Good morning to you, Corey. Great to have you here. So, Jenny, yes, too much about me and my drinking habits. How are you? How have you been keeping since I last saw you?
It was funny. Just this morning, I thought, yesterday I've been authentically losing it with my neighbor.
Oh.
Yeah, I have a neighbor. And I don't know, that's one thing about Portugal. We've been talking about it already once, their attitude and dogs. And he keeps telling me that his dog doesn't do anything and la, la, la. And when I pass running in the morning, it was the third time already he attacked my dog. And I lost it on him. In all my Portuguese, I told him that next time I'm going to kill his dog if that happens again.
Well, your grasp of Portuguese is obviously pretty.
And then a bit of breathing.
Yeah. Yes. Wow. Is that this morning?
Just the bare necessities, huh?
Absolutely. You're.
No, that was yesterday.
Okay. All right. So very interesting to have things to work with, because it's one thing, isn't it? As we tend to talk about the theories of spiritual life and practice and well-being and feel good. And of course, we're tested from time to time, as you were, by your neighbour and his dog, by the sound of it. So yeah, it's good to come up with the real case studies and how you dealt with that. So do you feel that you've processed that and you're through that now, or do you need some help from us this morning with that?
I did a bit of screaming. I did a bit of sprinting. And then I decided that I will go over there and talk with him and ask him if he cannot at least leave this dog in until 9 o'clock, until I pass running. But I'm thinking as well, it's now it's my dog. Next time it might be a human's calf. You know what I mean?
Indeed, indeed.
And
Okay,
of course, it's not the dog. It's about how you handle this and how you tell them off. But everybody's
okay.
different.
Well, I like it. I like it how you process the immediate emergency, the emotional first aid, and then you've gone into facing it. I take my hat off to you. You know, that's the awkward bit sometimes for the human beings, isn't it? Or maybe a double whammy. You know, ignore the emotions and then ignore the neighbour. You've not ignored your emotions, and you're going to go and speak to your neighbour. So, I mean, there's some integrity for you. There's some authenticity to kick off with this morning. That's what we're talking about, being true to yourself and true to other people. And that's you, isn't it? You're true to yourself. I'm not standing for this, and I'm going to go and be true to the neighbour at some point to have a chat with him. Does that pretty much sum up what we're talking about this morning, Jenny?
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, the other option would be to ignore the emotional upload with it, and also avoiding this rude and my neighbor the next time until this dog someone died naturally. But that's not really a solution around all the time with you, huh?
Okay. Well, you thought of this from every angle, I think, clearly. Mark Cockerton is here. I think you know Mark. Morning, Juniper. Mark, morning, Juniper. Does he call you Juniper? Oh, Juniper, Jennifer. Morning, Juniper from Mark and Anne this morning. Very good. Gary admitting to having a bit of lushy fun himself last night. That Facebook user is me, Penny. You, Penny. Thank you so much for introducing us to that brew. Bon dia, Carl and Jenny from Peggy. Prosecco Peggy's here. Nice to see your beautiful smile. I think that's to you, Jenny. Here we go. The feedback is coming in already about what we're talking about. Yes, that one. Yep. Jennifer Baraku. I have the same problem with my neighbour's dog, who has cost me lots of money at the vets. Oh, okay. So that could be a topic of the morning there. This is an interesting. This is a fellas. The fellas like to go to a solution, don't they? Easy answer, Jenny. Move. She's not going anywhere, Paul. Actively, frantically purging. Okay, safe space today. Anybody who wants to talk about processing stuff, this is what we do on the Feel Good Friday morning. This is how we roll. Thank you, Victoria, for sharing this with us. Purging stuff ahead of moving to Portugal. Super stressful, but feeling lighter by the day. Great. What are you doing, if you don't mind me asking, to bring that about? And you know, this is the interesting contrast between those two comments, isn't it? You've got to move away from it or deal with it at source. And you know, I think one of the things that comes to mind there, it's a good solution, Paul, no question. But wherever you go, there you are, is an interesting thing that I heard many years ago. And Victoria wants to leave her stuff in America, by the sound of it, rather than bringing it when she comes with her. I shouldn't laugh, but the fact that you know enough Portuguese to say you could kill the dog made me laugh out loud. All I could threaten to do to the dog is ask if it wanted milk in its coffee. From Deborah Davis this morning. That's fantastic. Couple more, Jenny. Bon dia all from Maastricht, from Magdalena this morning. You must go for a little stroll along the sensory path that Jenny made at her little forest escape. Inspired thinking, Jenny. Oh, we'll come back to that. That sounds lovely. Paul, it's not about the nail. What's that? It's more about the hammer, maybe. I don't know. That's interesting, Stephen. Becoming more authentic to myself and gaining more peace by not letting it in the bad stuff, like neighbours or nasty customers. Okay, and Frank's here. Look, these people have the wine club folks are incredible. They are troopers, legends. Not only were they out boozing last night, they're here this morning, and that to me is the mark of a fully rounded person. Bon dia, guys. Bravo, Jenny. Sounds like Cujo deserved it. I don't know. Is that some sort of curse word or something like that Frank's chucking in this morning? So what we've heard so far, Jenny, how are we connecting that to being true to oneself? Why did you want to speak about this morning? Please develop it further for us.
I keep losing you in between, so excuse me if I'm not following 100%. We know the comment crack, so in worst case, send me a message on the screen, and I hope you guys are halfway okay with the connection and not lose too much of me either. So thanks for that question. I thought I'll choose this for today because I know from myself and from other people, clients, as well as friends, that a lot of times it's not easy to express your own needs and stand up for your own opinion. And also, there's a lot of people pleaser out there in the world. And everybody's darling is everybody's idiot at the same time. And it takes away your self-trust if you keep on, yeah, I've been there. I know what I'm talking about. And it takes away your self-trust, because whenever you decide to do something just to please somebody else and make somebody else happy, this is a yes to this person, but it is also a no towards yourself. And this, on the long run, you know, it doesn't matter if you do that once or twice, I don't know, in a month or within a relationship, but it's about the balance. And otherwise, your body or your mind learns, I can't trust me anyway, because whatever I do is not in the interest of myself. It's rather in the interest of somebody else. And I'm not talking about buying a BMW and you rather want to have a Mercedes. It's more about, do you want to sit in the sunshine or do you want to sit in the shade? And you would rather prefer the sunshine, but because you think your wife would rather sit in the shade and you're not even asking, so you just go like, yeah, okay. And all these things. So it's not so much about your material needs. Again, it's also much more about your mental needs and your well-being, truly.
Yeah, excellent. And I think people are agreeing with you. Victoria says boundaries helping with attaining more inner peace. So she's actively involved in this. Easier said than done, but making good. Oh, absolutely, Victoria. These sorts of things do take time, and they take support. And hopefully you feel supported here. In, you know, as you might cause a little bit of a flurry in the force, as it were. It's good to know that, you know, whilst you're maybe changing relationships with some people, you're deepening them with other people in your community as well. I think that's really helpful and important to bear in mind as well, to get a bit of, as well as self-care, some community care. Hola, bon dia a todos. Good morning, Carl, and guten morgen, Jenny. Hurrah, you're back, says Jordinja. And Victoria loving that sentiment there, Jenny. Everybody's darling and everybody's here. Perfectly stated. The nail thing is a YouTube video. It's not about the nail. It sounds interesting. Don't look at it yet, folks, but one to look at later after the show. Guy trying to fix the fact his partner has a nail in her head, which sounds very serious to me, but I'm sure that can be contextualized when you take a look at it in greater detail later. Being true to yourself can take almost a lifetime to learn, but when you've learned how to, it's such a great feeling of freedom, says Jacqueline CDM there. Thank you, Jacqueline. Do love your contributions. Stephen, needs, expectations, and boundaries. So much to talk about in this. I mean, I want to bring another dimension to it, because I think it's a continuum. And this word, the self, I mean, I know that being myself has made me an idiot. And we have maybe some distinction is required here. What does it mean to be true to yourself? Like your selfish self, or in more cosmic terms, the one self of all. There is that angle as well, isn't there? But I guess from the very first part of this, and the self-care part of it, is to identify those dysfunctional patterns where you are cheating yourself and you're making yourself unwell, basically, from what I think you seem to be saying there, Jenny. Would you like to say more about that? And there is a gap here. That's what we're dealing with. We've got a bit of a gap. It's windy today, and that seems to be affecting the fibre. But fibre does bring wind, not normally the other way around. But anyway, that's probably too much of a distraction right now. Jenny.
Thanks, Carl. The pieces I got, I tried to pick together. But you're right, that usually starts really early. The whole thing, when you're very little and the world turns around you, and everything you see you bring in accordance to you, and then you try to make everybody happy around you, or you think you need to. And also later on in relationships, when we think, I am responsible for the happiness of my partner. And what happens really easily is that when we are so focused on meeting the expectations and needs of others, we also expect them to read our minds when it comes to our needs and expectations, and that's not fair because nobody can find them, even though you know somebody really well and you are like soulmates or whatever, or you're just really alike and you can read each other very well. That's one thing, but don't rely on that. At the end of the day, it's down to you to express what you need, and it happens so easily, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Absolutely right. And this is great because you're reminding me there of when I admittedly have behaved very selfishly as a younger man. I don't think I'm beyond it by any means, but I think I've improved a little bit. Hopefully with age, and if I may even use the word maturity. I know that a lot of my selfish behavior probably arose from my inability to communicate. So the selfishness was a kind of when I got towards the desperation of not really understanding myself or not understanding my needs and not being able to communicate. I'm talking about the relationships really, and early sort of attempts at family life and relationships. And you make a very good point there about knowing how to communicate. And here we go, talking of relationships. She's just video bombing me. She's being true to herself and just like thinking, I know, I'm just going to go and hug my husband while he's doing a live stream.
I can hear you
and squeeze my boobs like, don't, please. That's so intimate.
I can hear you talking about how selfish you are.
No.
And I just want to come and defend you.
Okay, no, I'm owning it. And I was talking about historically.
Love you, Jenni B.
Okay, there you go. You got some fan mail. I got literally mobbed. I got mobbed there.
You loved it.
I did love it. It's true. And I'm blushing now as well. Ooh, I'm flushed and sweaty. But this thing earlier on in life. You're right. Early relationships. We don't know what we're doing, do we? And that would be the best advice. I mean, who wants advice? What's advice worth really? But if someone were to ask me and say, what's the key thing in a relationship? I mean, you talk about all the superficial things. So what do you want in a partner? They got to look like this, look like that, blah blah blah. But to be able to communicate from an early age your respective needs, so you can understand and serve each other, not just serve yourself, but serve the other one there. Wouldn't that be a breakthrough? And I don't think it's happening, but I think you are part of it happening, Jenni. This is the literacy, emotional and spiritual literacy you're bringing to young people, right?
Yeah. But you know what you just said there, and also something you said before, authenticity, speaking your truth towards yourself and others and expressing your needs. Only through this you can actually build really deep relationships, because otherwise it's just a lot of BSing. Yeah. And tipping around and doing the eggshell dance, and at the end of the day losing your self-trust. Then people lose the trust in yourself, because we probably all know the saying, fake it until you make it, but that's got nothing to do with expressing needs or being authentic. That's something completely different. So if only when you're true to yourself, others can feel this as well. And we know the typical English politeness of saying, yeah. And then my German contradictory is straight out of the hip going like, she said it again, the word starting with C and 4 letters. It is a big contradiction there, and it might be the balance of it. But generally, what I think Jacqueline was it who said it can be such a big freedom as well. Once you try it. And of course, at the beginning, like everything you try new is awkward, might feel as if you are being an a-hole. Like, remember last time when you told me that it was a bit frosty, and then you went over to Louisa and told her, if I get a heart attack, I still love you. And you said, I don't know, it might have been a bit awkward, and I don't know if I brought it across right. Of course, if we learn to drive a vehicle, at the beginning it's like, oh my God, how do I hold this car within the lane? It feels strange, but it's about practicing, and then it becomes better and better and better. And what Jacqueline said there with this freedom, that's exactly this. Because once you start practicing, you will actually learn pretty quickly that actually it helps the other person as well. It's not just freedom for you, it's freedom for them as well. They know exactly where you're at, and then they can decide whether they agree on it or not, and continue with you, like you said, in friendships and any relationships. It's just fair from my point of view. And if you think it the other way around, if you'd be the other person, would you not want it to be treated authentically and been talked to openly and honest? So you know as well how to react and to decide whether you want to jump on that boat, or you saying, you know what, sail along yourself. I'm gonna find my own island. This, of course, it takes a lot, like Jacqueline said, it takes a lot not to fall back any time in old patterns, particularly in a relationship where it's so easy to lose yourself, particularly at the beginning where everything's so lovey-dovey and, you know, la 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 la. But generally speaking, you can practice this, and I think that's the key thing, to practice it, even just for yourself, and check in every now and then with you. If it is something you saw now, and something like a live show or a podcast or something you see, and not just going, yeah. And go and check in with yourself. Do I actually agree on this? Or is there maybe like a slight feeling in my belly that says, not quite sure about this? And then you're absolutely welcome to take your time to reflect on it and find your own opinion, and then be cool with that. It's okay to have an own opinion. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I would add to that also, you know, as well as, I think that's really important, you know, to check in with where you're at with something, because there's so much rich information in there. And also, you know, the other side of it, the practical side in life, is like, how's it working out for you to hold that opinion and to put that opinion into practice in life? And therein, I think, lies all the feedback we ever need, if we can be in honest spaces and authentic spaces to process the information that comes from those questions. Loving it this morning, Jenny. Let's read through a few more comments. I know there's a big delay, so perhaps if you hear a comment or you see something on the screen that you want to respond to, you tell me. Okay. So back to Stephen's kind of summary so far: needs, expectations, and boundaries. Absolutely, is what we're talking about this morning. It's Penny again here. In case my name doesn't come up again, when you become a mother, it's very easy to lose yourself in the needs of those amazing little people that then become amazing big people with little people of their own. That's I think Penny's describing a beautiful family, some of whom I know of hers there. It's easy to feel guilt for following your own desires. Oh, okay. Well, that's a thing, isn't it, that we should perhaps talk about this morning. Still a work in progress here. Bless you, Penny. Thank you for sharing that.
Big one.
If you want frustration, no thanks, Paul, but I get this point. If you want frustration, try buying a property in the Algarve. Paul, tell us more. We're here to help this morning. So if you want to open up your heart a little bit and get a bit of online therapy, we're here for you. You know that, Paul. I hope you had a beautiful day yesterday as well with Susan. There is great beauty in being able to express your need without the expectation that the person with you at the time can. Let's see, that goes on to say can deliver it, but they can at least hear your expression. Absolutely. And when Jenny was talking just now, I was thinking to myself, the reason I didn't want to communicate is because I didn't want to cause trouble in the relationship. And guess what happened to those relationships? Folks, they ended anyway. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Not funny, really, but funny in a big human kind of way. But good morning, everyone, from Gemini Bradshaw, and special hello, Jenny, from Gemini as well. Garvo, I know communications is understood and well used in the Austin household. These guys, we've celebrated their long and happy marriage. I think the Austins know a thing or two about this. Sometimes it's the hardest thing to really discover who you truly are and not the person you're expected to be. Yeah, ain't that the truth? Finding the true you can be spectacular. Losing faith in that person can be disastrous. Yes, girlfriend. Yes, Carvo. Absolutely right, mate. Hi, Jenny. I agree with what you're saying, but we got a but coming in here. A lot of people suffering from anxiety try to please everyone else and ignore themselves. It's difficult for them to feel confident about who they are. Well, let's stop there for a moment, because that is a really very important point you make. And you know, it's anxiety provoking in its own way, isn't it? It's like, oh my God, not only have I got to contend with all the matters of everyday life, I need to be authentic now and set boundaries. So where would people start, Jenny, practically?
Yeah, I mean, good point. Thank you, Gawa, as well, and all the others for their comments. But that's a really good one. Thanks for picking this up. This would have been my next step. Exactly what's been said there. This anxiety, trying to please everyone, and anxiety or fear of being rejected, and that's a human natural. That's a natural human thing. Because we would only survive in a social environment, in a community. And if we get rejected from this community, this could potentially mean our death. So this is where it all stems from in an evolutionary point of view. And so to start this all and give yourself a bit of practice, first you can check in how much I am actually anxious towards rejection. So you can check within yourself, like, do you actually stand up for your opinion and feelings, or you are more likely to put them aside and put them back? Do you react spontaneously if something is bugging you? Do you feel comfortable when you are on a birthday party in your tracksuit? Do you feel comfortable when you are in a group with new people? Do you take criticism really personal, even in something is actually nothing to do with you? So these things, they can give you an idea of how big the anxiety is towards rejection. And then when you practice and you start, try to practice, of course, where it's safe. Try to practice with friends, with your dearest people. And if you want to take even another step back, practice with yourself. Have an imaginary conversation where you think about, you can ask yourself, where is a situation I keep catching myself in, where I act differently than I actually want, where I continuously not say what is my need now. And then from there, you can picture it in your head and go through it in your imagination and think about how you would feel if you would stand up for it. For example, what we had there with the neighbor and the dog. You can ignore it and go away, and when the neighbor excuses itself, you can just say, yeah, thank you, yeah, thank you, and then you just never walk past again, and you carry it around with you all the time. But I think we all agree on the fact that you would rather stand up for it and say, look, that was just not okay. And whether this was your neighbor and the dog, whether this was your partner constantly belittling you or telling you how to do things, or your best friend keeps telling you that they just don't agree on the hairstyle you have or whatever, and you just constantly say like, yeah, you might be right, yeah, you might be right, instead of, you know what, it's my life, it's my body, if you don't like it, how does Eminem says, if you don't like my shit, you can suck my dick, or something along these lines? And exactly like this, if you really want to nail it, I know, that was a quote, it was a quote.
I think, actually, Jenny, I think I prefer Shakespeare, I got to say, and that was the quote that I put. That was the quote. I do think Shakespeare puts it better than Eminem. But thank you for the comparison there, and we will see in the comments. Again, I mean, I don't mean to tell people. I'm not trying to sort of culturally impose here. But who do you think puts this best, Eminem or Shakespeare? This above all, to thine own self be true, and it must follow as night follows day, that thou canst not be false to any man. Yes, go on, Jenny. Or what Jenny said.
Sorry. The thing is, people will always judge no matter what you're doing. So there's no point of trying to please everyone and try not to hurt anyone, because at the end of the day, you're hurting yourself.
Yes.
People are naturally judgers. So you will never fulfill 100% of the people, as in, oh yeah, look, she's so lovely, he's so lovely. There will always be somebody, when you would walk over the water, they would still say, look, he's too stupid to swim. So there's always something.
So true. You're absolutely right.
Isn't
That is a
it?
really great. No, you're right. It's a good realization to have in life. This people pleasing thing is understandable, as you say. It's hardwired in us for survival's sake. You know, to please the people around you, you can get the sense that your
Yeah.
life depends on it. But when it starts to kill you anyway, ironically, that's the time maybe to do something about it. If you feel like you're a slow death of people pleasing, then your survival depends on it from an entirely different angle. Well said, Jenny. Well said, Eminem. Well said, Shakespeare. All of that this morning on the show. Saying no can upset people. Once you start saying no, it's like pushing a reset button. People who matter to you will get over it. Others may not, and so let them go. That's interesting. I mean, in many ways, that is about finding out who is important, isn't it? For those who can't accept you as
Yeah.
your best authentic self, maybe their place in your life is in question at that point. This is a good one. I think I'm gonna let you start with this, Jenny. There's the difficult question: how much of who you are do you compromise in a relationship? So, are you a radical in this department, Jenny? Do you think it's just should be no compromise at all in a relationship, or do we need to nuance compromise a bit better in the question?
I think it's important. Thanks, Victoria. Thanks, Gary, again. I think it's important. Of course, compromising. If you are in a relationship, you won't come around compromising. Otherwise, it won't work very well. Or one of you has really got a self confidence issue, and the other one is a bit of a narcissist eventually. So. There are those relationships, lots of them, but it is generally about rethinking your self-image. And in this case, with the relationship and the compromising in there, I think open communication is the major point there. You know, only when you express yourself and when I express myself, we can find a true compromise and be authentic together and find what is working for us and find what's not. If I keep saying then with, you know, a bit of a like, yeah, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
I mean, every now and then you can do it to do the other one a favor. Just make sure that it is in balance and that you don't do things in order because you expect then the other one to do the same.
Yeah.
Make sure there is no expectations behind it. If you you don't give because you want to get something back.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is how relationships can be, can't they? I mean, I think here, I love that question, Gary, because it's like, you know, the light side and the dark side of compromise. If it's a light compromise, it's because you've communicated and found a new level of maybe of intimacy and communication and authenticity in yourself. And if you do it because you're trading or because you've got some sort of unexpressed agenda, then that's the sort of compromise that I don't think does work in the long term. But great question. And yeah, it depends what you mean by compromise, doesn't it? And where that's coming from.
I can give you a great example from my life.
Yeah, do.
And when I came to Portugal the first time with my camper, I met a man and we fell in love, and he was from Ireland. And I already, oh my God, 10 years ago, I said, I'm not going to move any further north than where I am. But his thing was that, you know, let's go to Ireland and make more money in a shorter time so then we can come back and buy this property and la, la, la. And to a certain degree, it did make sense. But to another really big part of me was like, no, why? And because I was afraid of losing him or the whole relationship would trickle down, and it took us a lot for the both of us to actually go there and get the commitment, because we've both experienced pain already, like probably all of us did. So it's always a risk you have when you enter and you open up and you'll be vulnerable. So then I decided, for the sake of keeping this relationship, that my compromise was that, okay, let's do it, but just for half a year, just the summer. I won't be able to do a winter there. And I think in my perspective, I've said this about 1,000 times, Well, at the end of the day, long story short, I had my 2 feet on this island and I knew I was wrong here. And I knew it was the wrong thing to decide because I decided against my own will. And it was too big of a compromise for me to live with. And so this dissatisfaction and the anger that I was carrying around towards myself, that I actually went down this route, of course, was reflecting absolutely in our relationship. And big surprise, I left this island alone and I'm here alone now. Well, not alone, but without that person. It was a really, really, really good thing to learn again, how this can backslap you when you're really not listening to yourself and expressing it.
Bless you for sharing that. Thank you. Yeah, and I think people will recognize something in that. It is the stuff of human dramas, isn't it? And, you know, it's immortalized in amazing movies. You know, the things that come to mind, the worst sides of this, you know, a Ted Hughes and Sylvia Plath in The Bell Jar, where you see, you know, how people aren't getting their needs met. Revolution Road, DiCaprio and whatever her name is, they're not the Titanic. They're reprising their relationship for a grown-up's view of life in Revolution Road. Kate Winslet and DiCaprio, amazing stuff, and the stuff of great drama and poetry, as we discovered this morning, and rap. On my own for the first time, really, for about 2 years, says Victoria. No, some lovely sharing this morning. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Victoria. I'm learning to pay attention to and care for myself. It's very odd not to be anticipating someone else's needs 24/7, but I'm liking it. Wow, I mean that sounds really powerful, you know, and seeing, you know, living like you're anticipating someone else's needs 24/7. That's a job, isn't it? When you put it like that, and very interesting there, Victoria. Thank you. Back to, there's a few people sharing their anger because it's circumstantial anger. We might need to do a little bit of breathing or something like that for people. Or peace begins with me, Adrian Caffrey. Talk about frustration. We've just lost a good amount of money on our flights with Ryanair to Portugal. Booking flights this year is definitely off the agenda. There's some anger there. Let it out, Adrian, if you wish. And we also have some practical steps with Jenny to shake it out. A huge step that I learned was to observe and not absorb. Very good. Victoria's coming across with some amazing stuff this morning from the States. It's helped a lot with stemming anxiety and not taking on consuming negative situations. Wow, Victoria, incredible, huh? We judge ourselves through the eyes of others, says Stephen, without knowing if that's their real judgment. Yes, sir. Well said as well. What an amazing community, a bunch we have here with us. Your mouth reaction, Carl, was stop it, Penny. Hola, bon dia. I can't believe she said that. Hola, bon dia, Joel. Picanha. Debbie Dews, good morning to you both. I totally agree with Jenny. We always put others' feelings first. What about ours? Learning to be selfish for ourselves is difficult but necessary. Okay, let's talk about, we're talking about being true to yourself. Selfishness is a good little discussion within that, isn't it? Go on, Jenny. Should we be selfish sometimes?
Well, that's the thing. This word selfishness is in our whole system. It often is connected with some sort of negativity, but it's actually not. Being selfishly can be very healthy, and it's not about being selfish. It's about self-loving. And think about all this love you give to other people. Why is it so hard to give just a little bit of that towards yourself?
Yes.
And what Stephen said as well is we judge ourselves thinking about what other people might eventually think. And you know what? The truth is, so often they don't even think. So it's just us in our mindfuck spiral being caught. And a lot of it, again, is self-image, and a lot of it is not feeling good enough. We come back to this, we had this with the inner child thingy. And so whenever you catch yourself in one of those situations, you should actually ask yourself, but what am I really good at? Because we can't be good and perfect in 100% of the things. And perfectionism is also, I think, for me, one of the highest but underestimated forms of self-abuse. And I'm not speaking about care and effort to put into something to make it really nice and work well. Like, for example, building a house or la la la. But it is when it's tearing you, when you try to put an image of yourself outside in the world that is truly not you. And like Gary said as well, it is to find out who you not are in order to find out who you are. But we are all welcome to try this. This is what life is for. It's part of the school of life. It's a big playground to find out what's working for me and what's not. I mean, when you were a child, you tried to play with the puppet and you might have liked it or you might have not. And then you tried to play with the little car and then you might have liked it or you might have liked it not. And that's the same when we're grown up. We just don't give ourselves that space anymore and don't allow ourselves to actually communicate this. Because, I might have started dating a guy and then after 3 times I'm really noticing, oh my God, that's really not working for me. And we're fine to express this just like that. Just saying, no, it's just not working for me, without finding excuses and just, I don't have any time or whatever. And that's what Victoria said there as well, with saying no can hurt people. But, it's not, you're still allowed to disappoint people. And at the end of the day, she's absolutely right. When they really matter to you and you matter to them, more important, then they will stay. And it is like, we probably all, this is one of my favorite examples from working in a cooperative or working in the normal world, let's say, when you have been a people pleaser in the past and, somebody asked you to do something and you go like, yeah, I do this, yeah, and give me one more and give me another task and give me another task. And you always go, yeah, I do it. But inside you're already like, why me? And then all of a sudden, because, you end up crying every night when you're back at home and your husband tells you, honestly, maybe you should think about to eventually say no, just not to overload yourself and la, 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 la. Exactly, Victoria. You can't give from an empty cup. But then if you finally say no, whether in this context or in another, then people, they go like, what's wrong with her? Why? She never said no before. And you eventually have to go through things like, oh, you changed. Or you become really nasty. Or you're mean, you're rude, whatever. Yeah, they try it. They try to push your buttons, your people pleaser, everybody's darling buttons. So you change again and you go like, yeah, you're right. That was just me being rude. I've just not had a good day. That was because I had my period. Of course I will do it. Give me more. And that's the same with in a household, looking after the kids, doing this, doing that, with your shows, doing another one and la, la, la. So we tend to rather say yes instead of saying no, without taking actually the time to think about what we really want. And that's legitimate. You can take your time for it. You don't have to answer like this. And I was really good at that. I remember a teacher once said to me, Jen, you know that you don't get a grade for answering the quickest as possible.
Oh, very good. Very good. That's really helpful stuff, isn't it? I like that a lot. Yeah, and these are you. I mean, self-observation really helps it, isn't it? Because what you're talking about, it seems very important to be able to observe it. That's the key here, isn't it? So you see yourself trying to answer the questions fastest. You see yourself being a people pleaser. If you can create that transcendent view of yourself, that gives you a lot of power, I think, rather than just being a machine, basically, or a habitual machine. Yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll do that, etc. In the example that you give there. Penny Covey's 7 habits are great for relationships too, as well as being an effective person. I'm adding that bit. Habit 4, seek first to understand and then be understood. I've always loved that. Habit 5, think win-win. And habit 6, synergies. Compromise can often be lose-lose. I think that's right. Absolutely. I know we've probably all experienced that in some way if we care to look. Some people live in their own shadow. If you can find the light, then you will feel more confident in yourself. If you're in the shadow, You can't see the light when it's behind you. Turn around. Lovely advice there. And I think it's, what is it? Are you a farmer of your shadow self or a shadow of your former self? That's worthy of Eminem, I think. Jenni is here as well this morning from Belgium. Good morning to you. Bon dia alegria. My grandmother was French and a very headstrong person. I'm liking the sound of your grandmother already. She taught me a song. On s'en fout la digladère. I don't know what that means. Oh, I hear it. We now find out what it means now. I'm singing that in an Edith Piaf kind of way. We don't care what others think of us. Now, when I get into a situation like that, I always sing that song. Okay, everybody, after me. 1, 2, 3, 4. On s'en fout la digladère. There it is. There's the song for Feel Good Friday. Thank you very much, Johnny, for that. Great story. Victoria, loving your story there. I'm not reading this out, but this is from the mashups of Eminem and Shakespeare that will be a forthcoming digital download in due course. And as Victoria said, you can't give from an empty cup. Fill your cup first. Better to say nout. There's a Yorkshireman speaking. Better say nout than open your mouth and prove you are a fool. Except in therapy, because that's where it's okay to accept your fool, because we're all fools, aren't we, in some way? And who's this Jenni who's joined us now?
That's hippie. That's hippie. That's the victim of the attack.
Oh, poor little hippie. Poor little hippie. Okay.
Poor little hippie. Poor little hippie.
Dogs, notable people pleasers, but for because their survival depends on it. Okay, Jenni, I want to ask you about the thing that Gary was talking about, your sensory trail. Maybe we finish with that because there's some lovely developments, I think, at the tent, the transformation tent. But let's bring this together, shall we? Maybe a little bit of homework, or because it's important, isn't it? If people are hearing something here, and we've got a bit of community here, haven't we? We know we're going to be here together. In a couple of weeks' time, we could go out and practice some of this stuff and come back. You know, you've got some supportive people here with you. Jenni works as well with people one-to-one. You got backup if you want to put some of this stuff into your life. How can we kind of sum it up today? Maybe give people a few pointers and maybe something to try out there in the world, like the puppets and the toys, a few techniques.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Thank you for this. Carl, I mean, I think a good one is really, because 99% of us carry this around, check your self-image, as in when are situations where you respond so quickly and even eventually 2 minutes later already think, and just notice and observe these situations you're in where your fast response is to please others. And, if it's an environment where you feel safe, like your family, you can try even after you've already said, yes, you know what, I thought about it. No, I actually don't want to do it. Can we find a different solution? So try to learn to say no. And if you are somebody who is really afraid of rejection, even in a context of family, then try to go through these situations for yourself. And again, when you have the feeling that you're not allowed to say no because then you would be not good enough for the people that you matter, that you love and you like, then in this moment, tell yourself something you're really good at.
Very good. Excellent. So please give it a go, folks. And I'm sure it's funny how this works, isn't it? When you listen to something like this, I think, is it called the reticular activation thing? A bit like when you think of yellow cars, you suddenly see a yellow car. When this is on your agenda, when this comes into your consciousness, you might be in a life situation where you think, oh, that's what that Jenni was talking about. And you've got a chance then to give it a go, or not. It's up to you, obviously. But I think people speaking of the benefits of being true to yourself in this regard this morning, we're seeing the benefits. When you can't reach a compromise, says Gary, it's okay to agree to disagree. It's a difficult concept, but it doesn't always have to be a winner or a loser. Just respecting the other's viewpoint can be a compromise. Although when the steak knife whistles past your head, you may have overlooked it a bit. I don't know. I can't imagine Linda's done that, but you never know, do you? Bon dia. Had our clear PCR results last night, so flying to Lisbon tomorrow. Been so frazzled with all the rule changes. Yeah, our collective hearts go out to you. This is a difficult time to be moving about in the world. So yes, and breathe. Well said. Those last two words, very important, Beverly. I've never really cared what other people think of me, and I guess doing some circus trainings, a very good therapy transformational tool for this. I am what I am, says Circus School Paul. It's other people that either want to accept or they don't. You can't please everyone. And yeah, going back to our rap references, something else came to mind, Jenny. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. And that's what Victoria's saying as well. My brother likes to say, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Who was that? That's not Eminem there, is it? That's an older school rapper, I think. There she goes, checking herself before she wrecks herself in Al-Vazra this morning. Anything else then, Jenny, before you tell us about your wonderful transformation tent and how people can get in touch to work with you one-to-one?
Yeah, of course. There was just one comment I thought, what Gary was saying with before the knife flies around and the compromising and the being right or wrong. That's an absolutely good point of what we can always bear in mind. It's not always to be right, and when you try to be right less of the time, you will see how much this benefits as well. So try to get out of this winning and losing attitude. Plus also, you are free to say no, and it's your birthright to be happy. And at the beginning, it might be hard to say no, but just try it. Like I said, in a safe environment, and then you will see how freeing this is for everybody who's participating. Speaking about my transformational therapy tent, yeah, that's a good one. So the tent is up, it's glowing, it's a magical place. Gary was there the other day. We called you to see how the connection is so we could eventually broadcast from there. And then I also took him over to the barefoot path I was building in the middle of the forest at a beautiful spring. That's also really nice. You're welcome to come there. What's that face about?
No. When you began saying barefoot path, I just thought it was some kind of, you Germans and nakedness. I thought it was a bit more, elaborate than just barefoot. But I guess you're working your way towards that. Probably. There's got to be a sauna in there somewhere.
That's so funny. I'd love to go in the sauna again, I have to say that. But it's so funny with that stereotype of Germans and nakedness. I don't get it, but okay, I'll leave this to you.
Of course you don't. The fish
tent is up. Tent is up. You can book one-to-one sessions, either therapy walks, or we go a bit deeper in the tent. People who know me already, I am including, that's why Wholly Healthy, I'm including the whole body. So feed your brain, tickle your subconsciousness, and then finalize off with your physical body and get the stuff out so you can start to shine and glow and grow. Dipping into the next chapter of your soul. You'll find me on Facebook, Wholly Healthy. Maybe you want to share my email address again, Carl, for those who don't have Facebook. I'm sorry, I'm still working on the webpage project thingy. And now the tent is up and the restrictions are easier, how would you say that, softened. We can finally have physical workshops. So first one will be 13th of June. We'll do a grounding workshop, 2 hours reconnecting with yourself through nature. I'm already looking forward to this one. And 24th, I'm going to have one. What did I say? I'm going to start. I think letting go will be on the 24th. And then I'm planning also, the classic self-love, inner child, all of them are going to come up as well. Don't have a date for them yet, but let me just quickly check. Where am I? Yeah, 24th. 24th will be letting go of all stuff, all behaviors, all, relationships potentially they're still hurting you. So all this stuff, all the BS we don't need anymore, all that is not longer serving us, we will let go of this. Or then how to get some techniques for this. Grounding on the 13th, letting go on the 24th. And so on and so forth. You will find them on my event page on Facebook or Instagram as well. Or you can check out my services on the Facebook page as well. So nice, if I shall do it like all them people do it, so please follow me and like me and Malova.
On Insta Babes. See you on Insta Babes. That's amazing. What is your email address, Jenny?
jbaraku@gmail.com.
You say that?
RCC.
Okay, I'm just doing it now at gmail.com. Okay, so people can hear that. I'm just going to pop it in the comments as well. jbaraku@gmail.com if you want to get in touch.
Thank you.
Working one-to-one. Hippie, the lovely comment, and there's been a lovely level of people being authentic this morning. Thanks, Ian, for this. I suspect many of us have been there. It took me a couple of years after my first marriage broke up with 5 children to realise I'd lost myself. Then met Leslie, and 25 years later, happy ending there. Amazing. Just to know how it can happen, and how really wouldn't it be great if we can help the young uns communicate a bit better, a bit sooner, really. There's a lovely acknowledgement from Victoria somewhere towards Ian there, which, oh yeah, there we go. Thanks for sharing, Ian. Love to see that authenticity leads to peace and happiness. How wonderful. Any more that we're missing here? jbaraku@gmail.com. Yes, I think that just about wraps it up for wishing you a bon fin semana. This coming weekend. Jenny, you've been awesome as usual. Feel Good Friday, fantastic. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Jenny's here. This is the first and third Fridays, if I recall correctly, that we can have a bit of Feel Good Friday business going on. And Mark Cockerton, thank you for your contributions, Mark Cockerton, this morning. Enjoyed the show. Thank you both. But pleasure. De nada. And thanks as always from Stephen. We touched on some really good human stuff this morning. Have a great weekend. Jenny, thank you so much. Love to you and love to Hippie this morning.
Love to all of you. Thanks so much. Hippie's just so excited about the therapy tent as well. He says, you got to come around. It's a really cool place.
Of course he does. Thank
you. Thanks for all the contributions.
Gracias, beijinhos.
And all the sharing. And
we will be back tonight, folks. We'll be back this evening to talk about football. Man Cave starts early at 9 tonight. If you're into the Euros, it's quite a contrast, isn't it? I mean, stereotypically, I'm thinking, getting in touch with your inner child and your stuff, and working through transforming and processing. Doesn't always necessarily go with footy fans, but you never know. There is the intersection, and what an interesting intersection that would be, especially to do some sort of therapeutic work with those thugs who turned up in Porto recently. Wouldn't that be great? Maybe Jenny can run a special session for them on arrival, or should they ever be allowed back in Portugal. But tonight from 9 o'clock, Euro coverage. The Euros are starting up. Should have been played last year, now being played this year, about to start in about a week's time, I believe. But the punditry and analysis begins at 9 o'clock tonight as a prelude, a bit of Man Cave foreplay from 9 o'clock and into the usual Man Cave stuff at 10 o'clock. There you go. Footy fans just need a hug. What a fantastic note to end on. Just chuck that grenade in there and walk away quietly, Stephen. Ciao, ciao. Bye for now. Abraços, beijinhos.